Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. At least I'm assuming that most of you are coming back to my channel to see the second part of this little video series that I would have rather never have had to make. But I just wanted to update you guys on the situation for Jeromi and I and sort of the second part of our COVID-19 story. So if you haven't seen, I guess what I would call the first part of this video, I will link it up here so you can check it out. But for those of you that have been kind of wondering, and I'm sorry if it seemed like I was leaving anybody hanging or, you know, not really letting anybody know how things were going, but in all honesty, with the way things turned, I was like, okay, I should just wait for a while because who knows how this is going to end up being. And I guess I didn't really want to like do a get ready with me or anything. I wanted to keep this, you know, somewhat brief. And we all know sometimes if I'm like blending away a foundation, I might be just doing that for 5 minutes. So I wanted to kind of keep this short and succinct as much as possible. But I also just wanted to, you know, give you guys an update and let you know how we're doing. So just to kind of like do a little recap, I think when I posted my first video, that was like maybe 2 days after we were diagnosed, I think. And at that point, I mean, I was honestly feeling really pretty fine. I think even in that video, I sort of mentioned like, oh, I just kind of feel like I have bad allergies. And I did mention how Jeromi, you know, was feeling a little bit worse and how I felt bad that he was having to go through more than me. And that's just kind of, the way that it kept going. I kept getting better and he didn't. So I really wanted to make this video because I feel like if you watch that first video, you might be thinking like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, I mean, because I hear so many things, and we all do, right? But like, I hear like everybody's gonna get it, and it's not that big of a deal, and it's mild or whatever. And while I still feel like we are very lucky, the situation changed a lot, and so I just wanted to share that with you guys. And Jeromi is so sweet. He of course said like, you can share anything about my story. And so thank you, babe, for that. Oh, I honestly didn't think I was going to get emotional in this. Like I talk about this a lot, but I guess this is kind of my safe space within a very not safe space of being on the judgmental world of the internet and social media. But I feel like it is because I don't have anybody in front of me right now to like react. So yeah, so I think in the video I mentioned like Jeromi was having a cough and having some breathing like difficulty, and I was at the stage where I just had like almost like a sinus infection, and of course my taste and smell were completely gone. And I would say honestly the timeline is totally goofed up in my mind because it just doesn't even matter anymore. But I started getting, you know, better pretty quickly, and I'm grateful for that because I don't know what we would have done if that weren't the case. So I was able to get out of quarantine as of whatever Sunday. It was like by the first day that I was able to have my like time up from the public health department, that I was good to go because I'd been symptom free for I think actually more like 4 days, and I was doing well. But Jeromi wasn't so much, and it's crazy because I feel like he got everything that I didn't get, and he never lost his sense of taste or smell. So this really, you know, affects people so differently. And we wanted to share our story because we want people to know what it can really be like and not what it has to be like. Or honestly, I mean, like I said, we're still really lucky. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. So sorry about that. But, you know, I love Jeromi for wanting to share his story, and part of knowing how bad it was for him is knowing, you know, he's not a super public person, and he's not like me who's, you know, throwing himself out on all these social media avenues. But when he started getting bad, he wanted to share it because he wanted to let people know like this is real. He's very much an advocate now for, not that he wasn't before. I mean, we again were what I would consider reasonably safe people. Safe, whatever that means these days. Like maybe a night or two after I had filmed the video, you know, I was really feeling pretty good. I still maybe didn't have my sense of taste or smell back, but that was it. That was the only thing. And he just was not doing well. And I think, you know, he had had some breathing difficulty throughout this entire thing, and, you know, kind of cough, intermittent but he just kept telling me how much pain he was in. And I guess you can never know how much pain someone's in, right? Like, you hope that you can, understand that, but I don't think that I really did. And, he was just like, I feel like my entire body is bruised. Like if someone punched you all over and like your skin hurts, your muscles hurt, your joints hurt, like everything hurts, your bones hurt. He's like, I know you really like to soothe me by like touching my hair and like, it's okay, but that hurts. He's like, my hair feels like it hurts. He's like, I know you think I'm being a wuss here, but it really does. And, he was really in bed for like a full day and just trying to sleep, and then like basically like couch to bed another day at least. And he was just like, it hurts so bad that I'm trying to just go to sleep so I don't have to feel it. And I was like, maybe you'd feel better by getting in the shower. And because at this point I think he'd already been starting to get feverish, and that was one thing in my last video. I said neither of us ever got a fever, and still to my knowledge I don't think I ever did. But he was feeling feverish, like you could tell, because it would be like chills and then he'd be like really hot. And so I thought, oh, maybe a shower would like make him feel refreshed. And he was just like, the thought of having running water hit all of my body right now sounds like torture. And that's really what clued me in the first time to like how sore he was feeling. And, he was also starting to really get a much worse cough. And, I was trying to help and take care of him as much as I could, keep him hydrated and, do some of those things. And the cough was just so bad. And he was in so much pain. Like, that's really hard to see someone that you care so much about in pain. I knew he was in a lot of pain, and he was really like, his cough was starting to ramp up a lot. And, you'd go through these like coughing jags and just not be able to control it. Like, I think we've all sort of been there, but maybe not to this extreme. And, we were trying to keep it under control and use cough medicine and whatever we could. And that's what we were told is like, use your normal things that you would use for a flu or cold to help with the symptoms. So that's what we were, of course, trying to do. And the one night we were getting into bed and, just kind of like winding down and, just about ready, like I'm setting my alarm or whatever, and we're just about ready to go to bed. And he's like, hey, if I'm unable to communicate with you at some point in the middle of the night and I feel like I need an ambulance to go to the hospital, I'm gonna do this motion. And I'm like, what? And he's like, if I can't talk to you, I'm going to try to do this motion to let you know that I really need to go to the ER. And I'm like, do you think that might happen? And he's like, well, I'm just worried if I really start coughing a lot, or for some reason, if I couldn't communicate with you, I just kind of want to have a game plan. And that was scary. Like, it wasn't quite the scariest moment of this whole experience, but it was pretty scary. So, needless to say, I don't feel like I got a lot of sleep because I was like, okay, I want to stay up now. And I mean, when he found out like how much that scared me, like, of course that wasn't his intention at all. He just really wanted to have a game plan, like, which is responsible. Although I would hope that if he was coughing that uncontrollably, I would have known to just call the ambulance, but all right, so I just filled up my memory card. I had to go grab a different one, which is probably good because I could like collect myself for a minute. But yeah, so luckily we didn't have to call the ambulance that night. And the next day, we were probably going to call the doctor anyway, but the doctor called Jeremy to see how he was feeling, which I appreciate a lot. So he, of course, told her that he was really having a lot of difficulty. She ended up prescribing prednisone, which he would, taper off of over like 5 or 6 days or something like that. A couple days in, he was really starting to feel better. The body aches were much better. And I feel like at this point, he was kind of having some of the GI issues as well, which is crazy because I feel like the minute one thing would clear up, another one would come. So it was just like, oh, like I remember at one point he said that he was so grateful that he just didn't feel so like well, he didn't use the word brain fog, but just like completely, he's like, I can't even hold a full conversation right now. I don't even feel like I can do that. And I think, you know, part of it is just you feel so bad and you're in so much pain that cognitively you're just not there. And, you know, once the doctor prescribed the prednisone, he was getting so much better, and I was so relieved. Like, he was feeling so much better, and I could see him happy on occasion again. And, you know, I was getting ready to go back to work, and there was a lot of guilt there, a little bit, that I was sort of like leaving him alone. And of course he assured me he'd be fine. And I didn't have guilt as far as like going back to the salon. I felt very safe for my guests, and public health had told me I could return to work even though he was, you know, still in quarantine. They said both public health and our like physician group had said there's no concerns of you needing to isolate away from him. At this point, we have no concern that you would, you know, recatch the virus so soon. I'll get more into that and the whole antibodies and whatever at the end if you're curious to hear like what I've sort of understood and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I went back to work, and not quite full days, but, you know, kind of like getting some guests in, because I still had guests that I hadn't gotten in after, you know, our shutdown. So I was like just getting back to like normal, and I had a couple guests that I hadn't gotten in yet. So made sure to take care of those people. And I thought, you know, things were going well. And we had one night that was like, okay, like, this is good. Like, let's just like de-stress and, you know, do something fun and entertaining. And so we put on a Trevor Noah program. It was one of his Netflix shows. So funny. That man is so talented. And we were watching that and having a great time, but we were laughing so hard at points, and it really made him cough like a lot. Like, you know, it just irritated that cough. And it was just getting worse. He kind of calmed himself down and was like, okay, that probably wasn't a great idea, but it was good to laugh. So he kind of got calmed down, and we went to bed, and he was, you know, like feeling pretty good. But then a little bit after we went to bed, you know, he just started coughing and could not stop. It just got like worse. Like, we laid down and it just got so much worse. And, you know, I think we were up pretty much the whole night. Like, I think I got a little bit of sleep, but I don't think he got any, because he just couldn't stop the cough. It was like, you can't stop and you can't breathe. And I can't imagine how scary that is. And he was like, I'm going to go out into the living room and just be on the couch because, you know, you have to work in the morning, and I'm so sorry, you're not going to get any sleep. And I was like, I don't even care about sleep at this point. Like, I was like, will you please leave the door open, because I want to be able to hear you. Like, I would have much preferred if he had just stayed in with me. But I think sitting up on the couch would have been good. But I was like, I will come out and lay by you, like on the couch. Like, that I'm not going to really get a lot of sleep knowing that you're not doing well. And I have to say that whole thing was a little weird. Like, I already felt a little guilty going back to work. But when I planned my week of going back, you know, we were both doing okay. If I had known how things were going to turn, I probably wouldn't have scheduled clients at the salon so early. And so, you know, I was getting ready in the morning to go to work, and I asked him, like, hey, are you going to call the clinic, you know, when they open? He's like, yes, like, I will call first thing. And I was like, okay, like, please let me know, you know, just keep me in the loop. So I went to work, started on my first guest. And, you know, for those of you that know, when you're doing like a big color change and you've got you're like elbows deep in a balayage and everything. And I didn't even hear my phone going off. So when I got a moment to check my phone, I realized that I had a missed call and a text from him. And all the text said was, hey, can you give me a call when you get a chance? And I called, and it went to voicemail. And that alone was scary. But, like, he misses calls sometimes, so I was like, okay, maybe it's fine. But I was also like, okay, maybe he's somewhere where you can't get reception, like a hospital. And so I messaged him, and he called almost right away. And, you know, when I answered the phone, he was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm at the emergency room. And, of course, I immediately started crying. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, oh my God, what happened? And he said, I couldn't get the cough under control. And it was, I would. And then the clinic basically said, like, you should probably just go into the emergency room. At this point, there's not really much that we could do for you. And he was like, I really didn't want to go to the emergency room, the bills and just having to go in. And he's like, so I tried to like meditate so I could like calm myself down. And meditation was helping him at one point during this whole thing. But at this point, he's like, it just wasn't helping. Like, I can't control this cough. And he's like, and I started gagging. And I thought I was going to throw up. And I was worried that I would, like, aspirate. Basically, he was worried that he would choke on his own vomit. And that's a scary thought. Oh, so I'm, like, 10 times worse than this at the salon. Like, crying. And, he's like, I'm okay. And I'm sorry that this video is so emotional. Like, I think I'm more emotional in this video than I was in the original one, but we're talking about Jeremy. He's like, I'm doing okay. They're doing a chest x-ray and a blood clot test just to make sure, that everything's okay. And I'm just like so worried. And he's like, I brought my CPAP machine and some of my things in case I get admitted. And I'm like, admitted? You think you're going to get admitted to the hospital? And he was like, well, I don't really know. And I'm like, should I leave work? I'm gonna leave work. And he's like, no, he's like, I have COVID. They don't even let COVID patients even have one visitor. Now I sound like I'm at the salon. They don't let COVID patients have a visitor. Like, cause I think right now most places are like, you can have one visitor in 24 hours. That's how our hospitals have been here. Okay. I can't even see him if he gets admitted. And that's scary. And I know some people who had to go through surgeries and different things throughout this whole time. And my heart goes out to you because that's scary. Like, so all I had to do was wait. And of course, I tried to like compose myself and like go back in. And you could tell that I'd been crying. But it was like, I guess I'm kind of grateful that I had my time at the salon because it was a good distraction. What else was I going to do? Pace around at home? And it wasn't that long before I got a message from him that all his tests came back cleared. So that was very lucky. So the chest x-ray came back, the blood clot test came back. I'm sure it's not called a blood clot test, but I don't know what it's called. They did prescribe him a stronger cough suppressant though. And they said, you need to cough. You don't want to completely suppress that cough, but obviously you want to be able to get a handle on it and be able to get some rest. So he just messaged me and said, I'm on my way home. If I can, I'm really going to try to get some sleep. And thank goodness he was able to get some rest. And so, from there, it did start getting better. So I'm so grateful that really, we just had a few scary days there. But it took a while. He was just able to come out of quarantine the Wednesday after the 4th of July. It turns out that he probably was actually in quarantine a little bit longer than he needed to be. But of course, we were told 10 days plus 3 days symptom free. And, one person said 10 days plus 1 day fever free, but, we never, for sure knew that he had a fever. And actually that's the one thing when he went in to the ER, they took his temperature and he did not have a fever. So, that's one thing that I think is really important because I think that there are a lot of people right now who are relying on fever to be able to monitor whether or not someone has COVID. And, if you are a salon owner or a business owner and you're taking people's temperatures and that's the only thing that you're going off. I don't mean to I'm not trying to scare anybody or anything, but just be aware that there are some people who don't get a fever. I, like I said, to my best knowledge, never had a fever. Who knows, maybe I was just like Wonder Woman and powering through it, just thinking I was exhausted from being at the salon for these 70, 80-hour weeks that I was pulling. But as far as I know, I didn't. So, Jeremy obviously did at one point, but they said, they're like, no, we were finding that people are having fever-like symptoms maybe, but don't have a fever, or people who never have a fever at all. So we were like, well, what do we go off of? And he had still been coughing. And at one point I'm like, okay, I hear that this cough can last for a really long time. And so I highly doubt that if you have this lingering cough for 2 months, that you're expected to quarantine for 2 months. That doesn't make any sense. You aren't going to be able to transmit the virus anymore. And so I said, you should call the doctor and see what they say. And so when he called, they said, yeah, you're totally fine. Like, honestly, at the point where your fever had broken, you were probably fine after 1 day. Honestly, I think we're both like better safe than sorry type of people, and we would rather be at home for an extra day or two than being out and about, whether it's going to work or Home Depot or whatever, and possibly still transmitting the virus. It's been pretty low key around here. We obviously were home for the 4th of July, which I think most of us really were. I mean, you're not going to be out and about in big crowds. But yeah, so we've been enjoying some time at home, and now that we are able to be out and about, we did just go to a state park nearby us and go hiking yesterday. It was a beautiful day, and it was nice to be able to be out. I think Jeremy felt really isolated during this whole thing, and we love each other and we love spending time together, but that's a long time to just not even at it from a distance, be able to see a family member, and he hadn't seen his kids. So it was a lot. So, he's really been an advocate for telling people, like, COVID is no joke. Actually, it was pretty funny. He told me, where did he go? I think it was the day that he had been able to come out of quarantine, and he had a couple errands to run, and he had stopped at a store and had handed something like barcode first to the clerk, who was wearing a mask, like, to here or whatever. Like, the mask was on, but it was like under the chin or the lip. Jeremy was trying to like present the barcode to the guy so he could just use his gun to scan it, and he was trying to grab it. And he's like, oh, dude, if you could just like not grab this, no offense, but I just got over COVID and I don't want to get that again. And the clerk like really quick like put up his mask, and it's like, okay, this is the thing, because people who have COVID, not that Jeremy was still transmittable, like right at all, he didn't have it, but people who do probably aren't running around with big red flashing signs, I have the virus, put on your mask. So, yeah, I guess what I want to say is, please be careful. And we've all heard people say like, oh, I wish I'd get it and just like get it over with. And you don't. That line of thinking is misguided. And especially because you can get the virus again, right? And anything that I'm going to say here is obviously what I have heard from either the public health department or our physician, but I might not be transferring it 100%. So take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a medical professional at all, but Jeremy had asked about antibodies and all that, and the doctor had said, well, there's no official findings yet, but they are finding that antibodies may wear off in as little as like a month or two. Also, I'm sure that viruses, just like any other virus, mutates, it changes. So just because I had a certain like strain of COVID, I don't know if strain is the right word, but it doesn't mean that a month and a half from now I can't get a slightly mutated version of the virus and get sick again, and maybe get sick worse. Like maybe not, but maybe so. So it doesn't mean that, if you have COVID and you get through it, that you're just like out there with like a bulletproof vest on. So I think everybody should be careful. And again, you should always act like you might have the virus, because you never know. And we should all be out there protecting each other in whatever ways we can. And I don't, I'm not saying that we all need to hole up in our houses and whatever, but we need to be smart and responsible. So I just wanted to tell you guys our story, and I want to thank Jeremy for being willing for me to tell his part of the story. And I love you so much, sweetheart. And I love you guys too. So thanks for watching this, and I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. And I am looking forward to the day one day when we can all give each other big hugs, and that day will come again soon. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I know that sounds really weird after something like this, but obviously, it does help share this video with people, and I would like to get some engagement on this video so that people will see it and can hear our story. That's the whole reason I've been so transparent through this whole thing, was so that people could see from someone who has had the virus, and now, two people who sort of went in two opposite directions and had two very different experiences with this. I wanted to be able to share that. So feel free also to share this video with people if you find it would be helpful. I know especially people that are in my industry have reached out to me and just said thank you. You know, it's made me relook at some of the things that I'm doing. And so I hope that that does. That's the best that we could ask for after this whole thing. So, all right, that's it. Again, I didn't mean to like be stringing you guys all along on this. I just wanted to wait until we were, you know, in the clear, fingers crossed, to give you our full experience. So love you guys, and I'll see you really soon.